Champaign County Agriculture Today with your host, Dennis Riggs.
Hello and welcome to Champaign County Agriculture Today. I'm your host, Dennis Riggs, and thank you for tuning in. For the next few minutes, we're going to be exploring some very interesting aspects of the agricultural industry here in East Central Illinois. We've talked in the past about different jobs, about different requirements that farmers need, but a lot of this is based on education. Today, we are very lucky to have on our program two experts in the field of education, specifically for agriculture. So no matter if you are looking at an agriculture career or maybe a grandchild or an acquaintance or a neighbor, we have gentlemen here from both the University of Illinois and from Parkland College who are going to tell us about that. So start off here at my immediate left, Dr. Charles Olson. Dr. Olson is the Assistant Dean of Academic Programs of the College of Agriculture, Consumer and Environmental Sciences of the University of Illinois. That's a big title there, Chuck. Tell us a little bit more about that and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Glad to do so. I recall vividly about 9 years ago when our dean, we knew we were going to have a new name for the college, and he said he had no less than 88 suggestions of what it should be. Every one was going to be as long as your arm, and so he said, I decided to pick something that lent itself to an acronym that people would remember. So he says the College of Agricultural, Consumer and Environmental Sciences is the new name of the college, but from this day forward, we're the College of ACES. That's exactly right. And in a few minutes from now, I'll give you another bit of information about the title, how it affects. I was a graduate of the College of Agriculture in agricultural economics back in the late 60s. Worked for the Soil Conservation Service for a little while, and then came back to school, and after some military experience as well, got a master's degree in student personnel administration, and then got a PhD in higher education administration, all the time knowing that I wanted to get back into an agricultural environment. And so a position in academic programs at the college I graduated came up about the right time, and I've been delighted ever since to be in the position I am in the College of ACES at the University of Illinois.
Now, is hometown then around here locally?
It is not. I grew up in Knox County, a little town called Oneida, Rova High School, 1968. Actually went to ISU to start my education, but then saw the light and came to the University of Illinois.
Very good. Well, we're all glad that you did. That's fantastic. Good. Also with us today from Parkland College, Bruce Hendrickson is the chair of the Department of Business and Agri-Industries out at Parkland College. Bruce, thank you for being here today. Give us a little bit of an idea about what your job duties are out there at Parkland College and some of your background.
Sure, be glad to. I think I'll start chronologically. Small town farm kid from north of Springfield, specifically Athens School District, not Athens, Athens, and decided in high school that I really wanted to teach high school agriculture. As most farm boys, I was taking agriculture. Of course, girls weren't allowed to take ag at that time, at least they didn't. So I did go to the University of Illinois and finished there in 1970. Took a position teaching high school ag at Paxton, just up north of us a little bit. Became PBL later. Did a master's while I was teaching, actually in what we called then vocational and technical education. And in 1975, I had the opportunity to join Parkland College as part of the ag program, which I did, and as an ag instructor. And a little different from some, after being there about 10 years, I had an opportunity to actually try something different, and the timing seemed to be right. So from 1985 to 89, I was actually a farm market consulting in that business in this community, and had a great opportunity to take some of the things that I've been teaching and try to help farmers and farm families directly doing that. But I miss teaching. I miss working with all the students of all ages, and I had a chance to go back to Parkland in 89 as an instructor. Became the program director for ag at that point as well. Did that until 3 years ago when somebody bent my arm back enough, far enough to say we needed to have someone become the chair of the department, which includes ag, but is actually mostly business students and programs, accounting. We also have hospitality program, GIS, etc. And so that's what I'm doing.
All right. Well, let's just stick with Parkland here for a second.
Sure.
Give me an idea of the career training that can happen in Parkland College that has a relationship to agriculture.
Okay. We have multiple programs, or what I prefer to call degrees. We have a few certificates, but most of the students actually go through the degree programs in various specific areas within agriculture, such as ag business management, precision technology, one that we call agronomy, which is mostly for those who are interested in production farming. And then we also have a couple of others, equine management for horse people, has been around since 1975. And we also have, as of only about 5 years ago, a horticulture program and 1 degree with several options already. And so we're really looking at the opportunity to provide those. Now, all of the emphasis that we try to talk about is hands-on. We try to make sure that they're practical. All of those degrees actually are associate in applied science, are not intended to be transferable per se. And so the emphasis is at the end of that 2-year program, if they go straight through, the students are really ready for some entry-level positions. Obviously not necessarily ready to go out and manage a business related to those topics, but certainly they're ready to move into that type of position in a few years. The disadvantage is that they don't get the privilege of taking some of the general education classes that the student who goes directly to the university might. However, we also have a degree, associate in science in agriculture, that is intended to be a transferable degree. And that's where they only take probably 4 or 5 transfer ag classes, and everything else they would take in that 2-year degree would be the general education courses.
Okay.
So they're ready for the U of I.
There we go. Well, let's go across town a little bit to the university and hear a little bit whether it's, for different reasons, students would decide to go whether to a Parkland or university. Give us an idea, though, Chuck, some of the careers or vocations that are being taught at the University of Illinois.
Glad to do that. Well, the College of ACES is a fairly small college on the University of Illinois campus. We've got about 2,250 undergraduate students, and you compare that to the total campus of about 30,000, so we're less than 10% of the student population. 600 graduate students, master's and PhD programs in all of the departments. There's 7 departments in the College of ACES, 5 of which are natural science-based, and 2 of which are social science-based. Natural science-based ones being animal sciences, crop sciences, natural resources and environmental sciences, food science and human nutrition, and ag engineering sciences. On the social sciences side, ag and consumer economics is the business department in the college, and then human and community development is where ag education is, where ag communications is, and a large program called human development and family studies. And so it's a wonderful mix of disciplines, all of which have some scientific focus to it, but 5 of which are very much scientifically based and therefore suggest a lot about the requirements for the programs.
I understand. Would you say that there's a difference in the students that should look into a 4-year program or a 2, or do you see that line going back and forth, or maybe even changing throughout the student's career?
The state of Illinois is so fortunate to have quality 4-year state institutions and quality community colleges, because we're allowed each year to bring in about 625 freshmen by the campus. Enrollment's tightly controlled at the University of Illinois, but we can bring about 625 freshmen. We're also allowed to bring in about 125 junior level transfer students. And even though some of those would come from 4-year schools, the vast majority come from the Illinois Community College system, and Parkland being one of our larger feeders there. But the community college system in Illinois is wonderful. The preparation the students can get there is ideal. We prescribe what we want them to have, but ideal preparation to come in and then take their last 2 years there when they're focusing on their major field of study courses.
Well, it sounds like a lot of variety and a lot of different, very interesting fields that they can get into, but let's start off with the basics. I'm going to go to Bruce here and ask you, let's talk about traditional farming. In some of our programs, we've had real live farmers right here on our program that actually drive tractors and combines and all that type of thing. How many students that go through Parkland, whether you want to say percentage or the number, that are actually training to go back home and either start a farming operation, which is extremely tough to do, or probably more specifically be involved in their family operation, Bruce?
Let me start by the bigger picture, which is we have about 200 students in our agriculture program, which counts all those programs I described before, including the transfer students. Out of that 200, probably about 80 are transfer students. So then you're down to about 120 or so that are in the other agriculture programs. About 25 are equine. The biggest program we now have is our horticulture landscape program, which is over 50 students. So all of a sudden you're down to not a whole lot of students, 50 or so, that are in all these various what I would call more traditional ag programs. Probably each year, out of the, let's assume about 20 students who finish our agriculture programs, probably close to half of those, surprisingly to me, are planning to go back to a family farm. Many of us as ag instructors in the last several years have noticed there's that group that seems to have actually grown in the last 5 or 6 years. Probably a number of reasons for that you would well know, but perhaps the listeners wouldn't. But I think there's more optimism right now in general about agriculture and its potential for farm producers. The more practical reason is because there's a whole group of farmers who are even older than you, Dennis, who
That's getting pretty old.
who are getting near that retirement age and are starting to look more towards that son. And in some cases, it's actually the grandsons or granddaughters. We actually have a young lady who graduated about 3 years ago who is full-time farming with her family operation now, which is fun to see. And again, should happen, you know. And so I think that's what we see is not many still, but more and more of them doing that. At the same time, the reality is most of them can't go right back to that family farm, so they are looking to do something either full-time for a few years or at least have a part-time job. And since they like agriculture, they really don't want to go work at the traditional city job, town job. So they want to go find some kind of position with a fertilizer dealership or some other ag business that they can do that as they start to work their way into that farm operation.
Interesting numbers. Chuck, well, what about, let's go across the street to the University of Illinois. Do you see a percentage of your graduates also grooming themselves to go back home to be production farmers?
We certainly do. The number is not large. The percentage is not large. We will probably have, in our undergraduate population, we've probably got between 30 and 40% of the students that do have a production background. But in a typical graduating class, it's pretty unusual if we would have more than a dozen that would immediately be able to enter the family operation. There's quite a few more, and I can't begin to tell you an exact number, that's in their plans, but they've decided the timing is not right, or the young father has decided it's not right yet, and so many of our students who are production oriented do decide to go ahead and take employment immediately, and sometimes to pay off college loans and that sort of thing as well. But the number is not large immediately after the degree.
How about the breakdown of male versus female? Are there, you see some of the girls wanting to go back and farm also?
First of all, in the college basis population, we are 60% female. There's a couple of programs that contribute to that, but there are increasing numbers of females that have a very definite interest in playing some role in a family operation. But again, I think in the last 2 years, I remember one young woman who went immediately. And it was a dairy operation, and she said all along that the cows were waiting on her the entire 4 years she was there, and she went home and did it. And last I knew, she is. And so
that's good. Well, I hope they didn't explode while they were waiting on her. Well, we've covered the production.
There's an image there.
I'm sure they were there somewhere when she got home. We've talked about traditional production agriculture. But people listening today might be thinking of an ag career, like I say, for either themselves or grandson or whatever. Let's talk about the new stuff. And Bruce, I'm going to come back to you for just a second. I know there's some new programs at Parkland. You mentioned equine. Tell me about programs that are different now than just 5, maybe even 10 years ago, okay, and what those entail.
Okay. I think 2 areas. Probably the one that we've been working with the longest that has so much potential, and it is the GIS, GPS type of program in education, global position satellite systems and geographic information systems. GPS, generally looking at the hardware side, including what farmers need for yield monitors on their combines. You probably have one. And other types of equipment, as well as the software side. In other words, it's nice to gather data off the combine, but that in itself is not a useful tool until someone takes it, puts it into a software package that enables you, for example, to actually use that data. So we've been early on in that type of technology, obviously computer-based, and yet more than that. And again, we've probably been doing that for about 8 years, the leader in Illinois in community colleges in doing those types of things. And at the same time, I think the jobs are still limited in that, and yet I really still believe there's going to be a continued growth in the opportunities for those skills.
Chuck, what about over at the university? What new careers are you training the students for there that has just changed maybe in the last few years?
I'm not sure there have been very many in that category, Dennis. I think that, and again, focusing just initially on students that have the farm background, I think that most of them have wonderful opportunities in fairly traditional agribusiness positions. Companies that are providing inputs into production agriculture, into the farmer. And so good opportunities most years, and the days are gone where major companies are going to come in and hire large numbers of students. But hiring 2 or 3 for a given year is pretty good. But opportunities for sales rep positions, marketing rep positions, financial lenders, lending institutions, accountants, insurance agents, and those sorts of things, where they're going to be interacting with the production ag clientele. And I think, again, these are the young men and women who may be looking to go into production agriculture themselves, so that's keeping their foot in the door as well. But those opportunities for employment continue to be good. Take into consideration what I just said. There's not large numbers, but for the economy's been pretty good the last couple of years, and so the numbers of companies coming to interview or posting positions has been very strong, and good opportunities there for the student who wants to be as close as possible to production agriculture.
What about the curriculum, the actual classes that these students are taking in the College of ACES? Is there more math? Is there more physics? I'm sure computers maybe have entered into this a little bit. Has there been some fine-tuning over the past few years of that?
There's always fine-tuning when you have faculty making decisions on curriculum here, of course, but certainly a little beefing up of the general education requirements here. Mathematics requirements are a little higher in some of our programs here. All of our students need to have their math done in the first 2 years to serve as a foundation for the things they get later on that. Computer requirement for everybody. Foreign language requirement for everybody, both to get in and a graduation requirement. And that's been a fairly significant change recently here. And but yet our corporate recruiters are telling us, those especially with multinational corporations, that there's not a day goes by that these recruiters aren't saying, I wish that I was fluent in a language here. And so the whole idea of foreign language. So those changes, a little more emphasis in the introductory level courses. Again, for the scientific disciplines, occasionally adding another biology course or another chemistry course, just making sure we've got the foundation sciences well in hand before they start getting into the junior, senior level applications of these biological principles into whether it's animal nutrition courses or plant genetics courses, and so fairly strong scientific backgrounds. Now, again, for community college transfers, the community colleges are able to offer those courses at the freshman sophomore level as well, so that these students, again, can be prepared to be able to move in those upper level courses where they're applying this increased amount of scientific knowledge that we need here.
Well, it looks like we're putting some emphasis on the community college there, Bruce. You've only got 2 years to get some of these students, especially those that are trying to complete their educational process in 2 years. What have you seen as different things? How are you fine-tuning your curriculum at Parkland to match what they need in the real world?
What you mentioned, of course, is something we've been doing as well for a long time, which is involving computers, not just an introductory course, but also trying to involve, with most courses, some types of computer applications, and in not just, again, in the GIS, GPS, but everything. We're trying to make sure that all students are able to handle whatever might come their way as they get into those things. Computerized farm records as a part of farm management class, for example, that type of thing. I think beyond that, I think one of the things we've been concerned about, of course, we don't have for our career students, as we prefer to call them, any foreign language requirement, but we're also at the same time trying to make sure that within many courses we talk about, even more than we used to, the global economy, and making sure that the students are aware of those things and they understand other cultures, et cetera. To the point in the last several years, we've really expanded trying to make opportunities available for students. So, for example, the last several years, we've had students go through a special program to visit another country, particularly Denmark, in one program. And then we've also had students go to several other countries, England about 3 years ago, and then just this last year, Costa Rica. And we're expanding the opportunities for that right now, even this week, we've been working on that. So.
As an individual that's watching this program today that says, gosh, I might be interested in agriculture because I think I like to watch things grow, I guess I'll start with you, Bruce. What are the things that trip the trigger of the young mind, or maybe somebody thinking about the second career? What should they cue off of to make them excited about possibly exploring a career in agriculture?
Great question. One is that certainly in the traditional agriculture positions, jobs, as Chuck alluded to, there's not a growing demand for people in those, but there are growing areas. And the biggest, according to USDA, the largest segment in terms of growth has to do with more of what often is called the green industry, horticulture. Hence why we started a program. We've had hort courses for years, and certainly University of Illinois has done that for a long time and does a great job. But we've expanded that, what we're doing, and we see job opportunities there right now, and that's why the program's growing. What's also fun is to see some of those adults who are already in a career, have been there for 5 years, 20 years, who are coming to Parkland now, have heard about the program, look at that as an opportunity to do something in maybe a second career once they literally once they've retired, or in some cases they've never been very happy in their current career, and they really see this as, even if they don't make as much money, they're ready to change their life, to find a way that's more satisfying. And that's been satisfying for us, for all the faculty, as well as our program at Parkland College, to be able to do that. So that's one of the reasons we're trying to respond even more quickly to that opportunity.
Real quickly, you mentioned the equine program also. That's brand new. Once again, it's almost like a hobby has turned into an occupation here for many people.
Right.
What kind of people you see interested in that program?
And the program's not brand new. It's been around for a long time, and a lot of people don't know that. Big reason they don't know is we don't have our own barn on campus, but we have access to most of the stables in the community, as we have those stable owners provide horses for the use of the students as well as for classes to be able to go out and do those hands-on activities. But there are job opportunities. There's not, again, when I have an equine or potential equine student sitting in front of me, I tell them, if you're thinking you're going to go through our program and get a job in Champaign County, that's probably not going to happen. But there are jobs. It's one of the fastest growing areas as well in terms of opportunity for the equine industry in terms of jobs. A lot of our students are interested in it because they love horses, but what they'd love to do is have that grow, that interest grow to the point where they can have their own business. Entrepreneurial spirit is very large within the equine industry. And again, it doesn't take much effort to find some data that shows how many additional horses there have been in the last 5 years in Champaign County and the state of Illinois and the U.S. It is a huge industry, bigger than I ever realized it was until I saw some of those statistics. So great opportunities, and again, as we see students who are really interested in making it a career, it can be done.
Chuck, I want to go over the university side for a second. I heard a number once where, and you may have this off the top of your head, the number of students that begin any career, any field of study at the university, and then switch within their first, second, third, who knows what year. My question to you is, do you see students that are switching into agriculture, out of agriculture, and what's tripped their trigger to make them want to be involved, maybe possibly in an agricultural field of study?
Yes, and everything.
Next question.
The most recent data I have, and I think it makes the point pretty well, is at a graduating class 3 years ago, the kids that were graduating, 60% of them started with us as a freshman in the College of ACES. Of that 60% that did, 80% of them graduated in the exact same program. The other 20 another program within the College of ACES. 20% transferred to us from another college on the University of Illinois campus. And these are probably the best ones to answer your second part of the question, is what attracted it to them. And it usually is they found a direction they didn't have before. And it's usually looking for a practical way that they can help, that they can contribute. And when you talk about feeding the world and what it's going to take to feed the world as it continues to grow out of control population-wise, looking for ways that they can contribute to that. The final 20% of our graduates came out of the community college system. And so to me, it's a wonderful mix of what I would hope our college would be doing here, would be attracting students from other places they found us, and I think that the knowledge, our college is small, it has a reputation of being caring, but it also says there's career areas that I can help make a difference. And the few returning students we have, that's what they're usually looking for as well. They've had an earlier career, and they want to go into something where they feel like they're really contributing to mankind.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go far away. Something in the food industry will help them do that.
I've also heard some good numbers, and maybe you can help me out here. A student graduates with a degree from the College of Aces, but then enters another career field down the road just a few years. That college degree in agriculture, is that a good springboard into other careers also?
Oh, I think it definitely is. And we do see all the time alums coming back 10 years later and doing something quite a bit different, but telling us how the foundation was laid for them and the program of study they had. And I think it's especially true in the scientific fields, where they felt like they really had gotten the foundation, where they developed the appreciation of science and knowing that you've got to keep up with science. And then once you've got that skill, then that increases your marketability even a whole lot more.
That's great. Well, other than watching this program and having all their questions answered, people here today, what other resources? Bruce, I'm going to turn to you. Where can they go to get information about careers in agriculture? And let's hear your viewpoint also, careers and training at Parkland College.
Well, in the area, probably two of the best sources are represented right here. But at the same time, the University of Illinois Extension Office, which some people are familiar with, the Extension Office would be another way to get in the back door, if I could say it that way, to the university and all of their resources. For those who happen to be maybe in the community and know about some of the high school agriculture programs, we can't talk about this without emphasizing again the importance of the high school agriculture education programs, which there are a number of smaller towns in the area that have those. Those can be great sources as well. And so, you know, those probably are the best ones.
Okay, Chuck, let's go to the university now. Are there places they can go to get? Are there brochures? Are there people to talk to as counselors at the university?
Certainly in the College of ACES, our administrative cadre here, we do a lot of that, talking with prospective students about opportunities. We use alumni quite a bit to have them tell their story. We look for any opportunity to get an alum on campus to then talk to our current students as well, expanding their horizon about what I can do with this degree. But oftentimes if I got somebody that's thinking that they want to talk to somebody that's been in it for a while, I'll call an alumnus who's 5 years out and say, I'd like to have you meet with this person and talk about your career path to help them decide if it's something that they want to do. So,
and we've got just a couple of minutes left. Do you have to be a farmer or have a farm background to gain an agricultural career from the University of Illinois?
Yeah, most definitely not. As I alluded to before, I think that the positions that really are still tangentially related to production agriculture, I think a lot of the companies are very much interested in having a young man or woman who can speak the language. But the percentage of those positions are probably no more than a third of the entry-level positions as well. So opportunities are good for everybody.
Well, it sounds like a bright future. It sounds like it's something that most people can sink their teeth into. And I think we're blessed here in East Central Illinois to have such great institutions, University of Illinois, Parkland College, where people can go and get information, and of course also go and get their education. So what's the phone number to call at the university? Is there a general phone number?
General phone number, I guess all my colleagues say it's my number, so I'll give it
that'd be
217-244-4540.
And Bruce, is there a number at Parkland College?
Sure, 217-351-2213.
There you go. Great information. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. And we thank you for listening. If you do have an interest in a career in agriculture, jot those phone numbers down and call these two fine institutions to find out more. And I'm your host, Dennis Riggs, and we appreciate you tuning in. Tune in next time for another edition of Champaign County Agriculture Today.
Champaign County Agriculture Today is brought to you by Champaign County Farm Bureau.